Your leadership meetings are not solving any problems. They're just theater. They're documenting problems. They're not solving problems. Let me piss off some CEOs this morning or this afternoon or whenever you watch this, because your leadership team might not be the problem. And that might be that it is not that they don't meet, it's just that they lack accountability, and it's a meeting theater problem. Let me explain. 6 years ago, I get a strategy stroke culture change program engagement. And I say, as I've always done, I'm going to want to find out what's going on in the company. So I decided I want to sit in one of the meetings. So I go to the my first day at this particular organization. I go into the CEO's office and say, hey, I would like to sit in your meetings. How often do they happen? Say, oh, we have meetings on Mondays, which are short and to the point, where the team gets together and focuses on what needs to happen immediately for that week. And then we have bi-weekly meetings where we go a little bit deeper in what kind of challenges we're facing at that time. So I say, okay, great. I would like to attend both of those. Coincidentally, they were both happening on that week because it was 2 weeks before the last one. I said, I would like to attend. So I go into these meetings, and typical of what I expected. I was a little bit surprised on how bad the theater was, because they could have done better. But 8 smart people around the table, everyone knows the numbers, everyone knows the problem. They mention problems and they discuss them, and people are nodding, and heads are like, yeah, you know what, we absolutely need to fix that. And then another person says, yeah, I will take responsibility for that. And then someone else writes it down, and there's always a diligent company secretary stroke admin stroke who was taking all the minutes, and it's like, this guy knew exactly how it flows, because you could see that he was even ahead of what was going on, because he could tell what was happening. Anyway, at the end of the first meeting, there was a coffee break. The first meeting was, what are we doing for this week? Just zoning in and making sure that people do what they need to do. In that meeting, there was 4 incidents where somebody was uncomfortable because somebody hadn't done something and somebody hadn't done something, but they just moved on, because that meeting is supposed to be short and to the point. Therefore, there's no discussing a lot of stuff. So anyway, short break, coffee break, and then another meeting starts. This is the deeper meeting. The first meeting had 2 extra guys who are lower management from an operation and sales point of view. This meeting is strictly the creme de la creme, the top guys, and let me just make it a little bit more painful for you guys, okay? Especially the CEOs, okay? The CEO in that meeting, I documented it, came in and said, okay, so guys, we're having execution problems, and these issues are between the operations team and the sales team. So the chief revenue guy says, oh, wait a minute. That's because we're not getting information from the sales team. No, we're not getting information we need from the operations team. The chief operations guy stands up and says, no, we are not getting the information from the sales team. And then everybody starts defending their department. The sales guy was quite, punchy, and he had some colorful language, okay? The head counsel, it was head HR stroke lawyer stroke whatever, says, okay, let's get these 2 teams together and let us work this out. Meanwhile, the CEO is just watching, is just sitting and watching, and I'm sure he was checking me out thinking, what is this new guy going to think of us? Okay. Anyway, they said they're going to get together, they agree what they're going to do, they put a name to who is going to do it, and the guy who takes the meeting notes, he already had his comb drawn out, he knew who was going to take what, he knew exactly what to do. Now, fast forward, the next week, on the Monday morning, the CEO asks, how's that going? He asks the CEO, and the CEO says, oh, we are working through it, and things are going great. He said, okay, can I get an update on Wednesday? He asked on Wednesday what's going on, and they say, oh, there's still a few moving parts, but we're getting there. And 2 weeks later, as we were beginning our deep dive culture change program, this is what the CEO said to him: we are making great progress. This was 3 weeks later. This is what is called organizational theater. They come in and they act. They come in and they pretend to get things happening. Your leadership team does not have a problem with execution. They have a problem with accountability. And that problem was caused by you. You, the person who is in charge. Okay? Because 8 people in a room, they talk about problems. They raise issues. They nod their heads. They say they need to fix it. And then nothing happens. Why? Because you as a CEO, you begin to ask, why the hell do I have to keep bringing this up? Why the hell do we have to continue discussing this stuff? Why the hell do we even take notes? I said, I'll show you why. So I called the guy who was taking the notes. I said to him, hey, do you have a record of the last 6 to 7 months worth of meetings? He said, yeah, absolutely. He says, I want us to go through it and I want you to tell me all the recurring problems. He said, no, don't worry. I don't need to go through them. I can tell you what they are. The same thing you had on Monday. There is an issue with product delay. There's an issue with quality, checking quality before stuff leaves, and there's a problem with customer feedback. I say, oh, you're very sharp. How come you know all that? He said, it's because it's what has been happening for the last 6 months, let alone last 2 years, because that is the way we do things right here, right now. I look at the CEO and say, wow, I think you got your answer right there. I don't know whether it was shame. I don't know whether it was whatever it was. I could clearly tell he was displeased. But because I've been around too long, I could sense his body language. I could sense he was beginning to wilt. I said, hey, listen, clarity without producing action is theater. Let us correct that. Let us start having meetings that are not about just the problem, but they're about changing behavior that caused the problem. The questions you ask when you have that kind of mindset is completely different from what is the problem, who's going to solve it, let's go. Because the trap is that you can have a beautiful strategy, you can have great PowerPoints, you can have great quarterly plan, you can have scorecards, you can have all those things. Because writing something down is not the same thing as changing behavior. Changing behavior means, did we do something materially different after we discussed this problem? Did something change completely from what we have been doing in the past? Otherwise, we will continue being in the theater. And this is a test. The meeting theater test is a simple test. Take the last 5 recurring problems with your leadership team, not new ones, the last ones, the ones that have been coming up, and ask 4 simple questions. Question number 1, was the problem actually solved? Not, was it discussed? Was it not assigned? No. Was it solved? Yes or no? Question number 2, did the behavior causing the problem change or not? Did somebody's behavior change? Did an attitude change? Did we have more action-oriented? Did somebody's ass get kicked big time because of that? Question number 3, did someone have the authority to fix it? Very, very important, because this one gets missed constantly, because you can give someone accountability without giving them authority. No, you got to make sure that there is authority. Somebody had to either make it happen or fail. And then the final question is, what happened when the commitment wasn't delivered? Were there consequences? Was it discussed again? Did somebody's ass get kicked, or did we have another discussion strategy? Or did we start talking about it even more? Now, sometimes you might not realize, but you as a CEO leader, you are unintentionally training the organization to behave the way it's behaving. You think about it. Your executive misses the commitment. You don't confront it. You don't change the owner. You don't change the deadline. You don't change the process. You simply put it on next week's agenda. One of the things I introduced in all the companies I've worked with, I said, there's no AOBs. There is not going to be anything put on the next week's agenda unless it has a direct impact on what is going on in the company and could not be solved in this meeting. Because you realize that sometimes deadlines are negotiable. Now, if you are going to change the theater, then you are going to have to change the codependency on you as a CEO. Because usually what happens is when the team fails, guess what? Let us say a team has failed to execute on a new product. The CEO gets involved, okay? And then the CEO solves the problem because, they have the ability to. And then the team learns to always escalate. Why? Because the CEO will always solve the problem. Now, the CEO becomes overloaded, overwhelmed. The CEO complains about lack of ownership. The team waits for the CEO's direction. The CEO gets even more involved, and around and around and around it goes. And then you wonder why we have mental breakdowns. You wonder why many CEOs do not have a real life to do the things that they would love to do, because they have this thing of, oh, I think I'm overwhelmed now. I need to delegate a bit more. No. Delegation isn't the first problem. Organizational capability is. So to get rid of this theater of yours, okay, number one, expose reality, not politics, okay? Just expose it and say, hey, this is exactly where we are. Number two, identify the constraint. There's that theory of the red light management. Go to where the problem is and do not move until the red light goes off. Go to where the problem is and deal with it right there. If it has to be 24 hours and nobody goes home, so be it. But you cannot continue to discuss stuff in the boardroom and nothing happens on the shop floor, let alone if you're doing, let us say it's a service business and you have a sales problem, you don't go until you have solved that problem. Then after you solve it, you assign somebody to make sure that they follow through so that you never have to deal with it again. Until then, there are repercussions, there are consequences for not doing what you need to do. When you begin to do that, you begin to take away the theater of your meetings. And what you will notice is the agenda will grow smaller and smaller and smaller, because you have stopped tolerating people's theater and people's BS of coming and talking about things over and over again. Most importantly, make the consequences of not doing really, really painful. But on the other side, make the consequences of executing be that somebody really gets upped and praised and given that feeling of, you know what, when you execute in this place, you are a king, you are loved, you're meant to feel, whatever it is. And you as a leader, take time, specific time, where if somebody does extraordinary things, you go to them and say, hey, that was amazing. What will begin to happen is those guys who are A players, they will love working with you. They will love being in that environment, but also they'll begin to push the bar a little bit higher, because guess what? They love to create amazing things. They love to not be in the theater and talk about things. They love to get things done. Okay, there you go. Stop the theater. Do what you got to do. And as you're doing that, remember that both of us have the ability and the audacity to build amazing products, amazing organizations. And as we do that, we just bring other people along with us so that together we can make this world a better place. Until next time, please remember that the friction in your company can be diagnosed in a flash, 7 minutes. Get the autopsy at there's a link somewhere here. Just go get it. Get to understand where your friction is and make it happen. Just click it, fill it out, pay up if you need to pay up, and then get to know where you are stuck. Most importantly, get to know exactly what you need to do to help you to go to the next level. Until next time, peace.